Hello, my name is Sian. I'm the clinical lead at Dementia Jersey. Today I'm going to talk about driving following a diagnosis of dementia. We have included this topic in these videos because this is a subject which so often causes a great deal of distress for people with dementia and their families. People with dementia have told us that losing the independence that driving once provided has been devastating for them. And we've heard many people talk about the difficulties they have experienced when they've had to try and explain to a person with dementia why they must not drive, or have had to physically restrain somebody from driving by removing car keys or parking the car in another location. So we know this is a difficult and important subject to discuss. So what does the law say about this? In October 2024, the medical standards and medical certificate requirements for driving licences changed to align with those of the UK. So when a person is diagnosed with dementia in Jersey, there are two things they must do. Firstly, they must inform their licensing authority of the diagnosis, and in Jersey the licensing authority is the parish hall in which you live. And secondly, you must inform your insurance company. A person must do both of these things, although neither of these actions will necessarily prohibit you from driving. So what might happen next? There are a few possible outcomes. Firstly, it's important that the connétable, this is the head of the parish and a member of the States of the Government of Jersey, may rescind a person's licence immediately. This is unusual, though possible, and can be contested. The connétable may visit the person's home and require them to immediately hand in their licence. However, it is more likely that the connétable will arrange for the person with dementia to have an independent fitness to drive assessment. This is with a doctor designated to carry out these tests, and the test will include a general conversation about driving, some cognitive tests, an assessment of the person's perception of possible hazards and their responses to them. There is usually a charge for this test. If the assessor is confident that the person with dementia is fit to drive, they will inform the parish hall and the person's GP. However, because of the progressive nature of dementia, a date for a further assessment is likely to be scheduled. Another possible outcome is that a person may be required to have this cognitive test and a practical on-road driving assessment. The practical driving assessment is not like a test a person takes to get their first full licence, but is more of an assessment of the person's skills on the road. As with the cognitive test, the driving assessor will report the outcome of this test to the person's GP and the connétable. We understand these tests can be daunting, and we know that many people with dementia don't feel they need these tests. So why are these tests necessary? Driving is a complex task which involves processing information in a constantly changing environment. Driving requires good cognitive, motor and visual skills and the ability to perceive possible hazards and respond to unforeseeable emergencies or diversions. Because dementia is progressive, even if a person is able to drive very well when they're first diagnosed, the skills required to drive safely will change over time. So this is what we suggest. Firstly, we know that talking about the need to stop driving will be difficult. So to have this conversation even before receiving a diagnosis is likely to be helpful. However, if it is too difficult to talk with your family about this, talking it through with a dementia advisor might be easier, so do consider this option. We are here to help at this difficult time. Secondly, although nothing will replace the freedom we have if we have a car and can drive, there are alternatives to getting out and about in Jersey. The bus service is generally good and reliable, and there are a range of free bus passes for people over 65, people with disabilities, and for carers. So do consider this option, and we suggest it's a good idea to get used to using the bus, even if you can still drive. We are also fortunate that in Jersey, most parishes have a community support team with people who can offer lifts to and from the hospital, and some also offer lifts to people to do their supermarket shopping. Contact your parish hall to find out more. And having a diagnosis of dementia, even if the person may not have a physical disability, they may be entitled to a blue badge disabled parking disc. These blue badges give people with dementia access to accessible parking spaces in multiple locations when they are being driven in another person's car. So they can be very useful and make a great difference. And finally, we know that having to stop driving is likely to be difficult. So talking through the legal requirements and the alternatives and sharing your feelings about this can be helpful. So please do speak to your family or come along and talk to a dementia advisor at Dementia Jersey.